What is up, Bears fans? Welcome to your Bears Huddle podcast, your UK take on everything Chicago Bears. We're building up towards the Cleveland game on Sunday. Interesting that Ben Johnson spoke to the media today, what he said. We'll level and reflect on that. We're also going to talk about a couple of concerns for the Bears going in. Well, three big concerns, obviously going into the game on Sunday. We'll chat about those, all coming up on the video. So please obviously hang on. If you've obviously just found the channel, please obviously subscribe and help us to grow our US-UK community. But as we bear down here in the UK, as well as bearing down there in the city of Chicago. Right, guys, look, let's deal with the first thing up first today. Ben Johnson spoke very openly and very honestly about the fact that, in his words, wrong slide, spoke very openly and very honestly in his own words about we need this win. We need this win against Cleveland. He talked about the desire to really go out there and obviously turn the page on the Packers' defeat to win this game. I think he talked, obviously, he really emphasised his 11 wins minimum to get into the playoffs. But obviously spoke about his desire to win this game. And very clear, though, despite the fact that obviously the Browns are really struggling this year, well, again, as per usual, they're still a dangerous football team. And he's right, they are a very dangerous football team. He spoke positive about Shedeur Sanders and what he is doing with the Browns offense, how he sort of sparked him into life in the last few weeks and is looking quite dangerous now. He's good on the run. He obviously spoke about Myles Garrett, which we will speak about in this video. But we do know he is very determined, I think, to get the win. And I think hopefully he's putting that across to the team. The need for this victory on Sunday is absolutely tantamount, absolutely needed going forward. Now, look, there are concerns again around injuries. Obviously, will Rome Odunze be fit enough to return for this game, or will the Bears not risk him against the Browns? Obviously, as well, strong stories and rumours coming out that Kyler Gordon is done for the year, which will be a massive loss. I think for me, not having Kyler Gordon round has really damaged Dennis Allen's defense to some degree. I think Dennis Allen, if you go back and you listen to what DA said in the offseason, he talked obviously very glowingly about Kyler Gordon, about using Kyler Gordon in the box, using Kyler Gordon as the outside corner, using Kyler Gordon as a safety, using Kyler Gordon on a number of different packages. And I think there's different packages that you can use him on, not only covering, but in terms of blitz, in terms of helping with run defense, etc., etc. He is a main man. And obviously, the worry is that he is obviously now gone for the year. I mean, it's obviously not confirmed as of yet, but it just seems that he is constantly in a situation where he's injured, and it is a major concern for the Bears moving forward. So big worry there. Look, a big problem for Dennis Allen going into this game, going into the next 4 games, and I think something that could well be the Bears' Achilles heel this year is the defensive line. Look, I think even despite the fact that Kyler Gordon is out, the secondary is strengthening to some degree. Obviously Jalen Johnson will hopefully be getting fitter, stronger and more ready to go. I think he looked about 60% fit on Sunday. Obviously, Deshaun Wright's had himself a good season. Jaquan Brisker's having a good season. Kevin Byard's having a good season. Nick Blackwell did well. McLeod did well the other day. So, there is big steps forward there. But the linebackers also, coming back. Tremaine Edmonds hopefully will be back for the Packers game. Obviously, our leading tackler this year. Also, a guy who's up there on the interceptions, on the takeaways. TJ Edwards being back on Sunday was massive for the Bears. So, look, there is, I think, a real need to say that, look, these areas are improving and doing better. But the major Achilles heel for me at this moment in time is our defensive line. Look, I think if you look at that defensive line as it stands today, Grady Jarrett and Gervon Dexter perhaps have not really done what we'd expect them to do in terms of interior pressure, certainly against the Packers. Grady Jarrett certainly has not brought anywhere near the amount of pressure, pass rush ability that I think that Ryan Poles and perhaps even Dennis Allen and Ben Johnson thought they were getting when they obviously got him in the off-season. Gervon Dexter's done okay, not amazingly well. Austin Booker obviously has come back from injury. Big loss obviously was Dayo Adeyingbo. We don't know how he would have turned out pre that Achilles injury. I suppose the other big thing there is Shamar Turner, the rookie, obviously being out as well. I mean, Shamar, big hopes for him. I think, that he could have been an end, he could have been a DT, he could have played in a number of positions along that line. What could he have brought this season? So I think, when he was picked, there was high hopes that he could be a bit of a dog, a bit of a beast in that line. Now, look, Montez Sweat is not having a disaster of a season, certainly not. 8.5 sacks is not to be sniffed at, but when you consider what we gave up from him and what we are paying him, you certainly would think that he would be a player that you'd be looking to get more than those 8.5 sacks for, that he would be at least in double digits by now. He kind of does the basic. He gets perhaps, roughly just under a sack a game. But, he's certainly not setting the world on light for what he's being paid and what we gave up for him, that second round pick. So, Sweat, I think, perhaps also suffers from the fact that he is the only guy on that line who brings any pressure. So, everyone knows double team him and you pretty much take the Bears pass rush out of it. Joe Tryon's not really brought anything. Chris Williams hasn't. Andrew Billings hasn't. Dominique Robinson. Dominique Robinson's pressure rate is actually the best on the defensive line, although his pressure rate obviously is influenced by the fact that he's not a starter, so doesn't get as many snaps as the starters. But, you look at the sacks as they're divided at this moment in time. At this point in the season, the Bears are certainly not very highly ranked in terms of that sacks and bringing the pass rush. The Bears pass rush is statistically one of the weakest in the NFL. 8.5 sacks for Sweat, 4 for Dexter, 3 for CJ Gardner-Johnson, obviously bringing it from the safety area. Dominique Robinson, 1.5. Tano Passanha, who's not on the roster now, with 1. Dido Ingbo with 1. Kyler Gordon with 1, Chris Williams with 1, Tremaine Edmonds with 1, Austin Booker only 1. He has played 6 games now, so I suppose we do have to realise that he has missed games. And Jaquan Brisker with 1. That is it. Tackles for a loss as well. Sweat leads the way with 12 there in terms of tackles for a loss. So we've got Sweat on 12, Dexter on 4, Gardner-Johnson on 4. I think Gardner-Johnson's been a quality addition. Byard on 4, Billings on 4, Deshaun Wright on 3, Sewell on 3, Edmonds on 3, Dominique Robinson on 2, Dio Odeyingbo on 2, Austin Booker on 2, Shamar Turner on 2, 1 from Tano, 1 from TJ Edwards, 1 from DeMarco Jackson, 1 from Tyreek Stevenson, 1 from Kyler Gordon, and 1 from Jaquan Brisker. Certainly not a lot of the defensive line bringing the heat and stopping people. And the depth worries me, and the quality worries me. And I think, if anything is going to stop this team from really going on to that next level and actually winning a couple of playoff games this year, obviously bearing in mind that, I'm hopeful that we will make the playoffs, it is that D-line. And considering what we've invested in it in this past off-season, it is a bit of a concern. It's an area that where perhaps Ryan Poles has missed, although obviously the Shamar Turner pick can't be quantified until he is fit. So it is a bit of a worry there. It is a bit of a concern moving forward. I think it's something the Bears are going to desperately need to address in the off-season and also in the draft next year. And I think looking at it in terms of that pass rush, to complement Montez Sweat, it's almost like we need some high-profile pass rusher to come in and really bring the pressure, really bring it on, and really put the quarterback under pressure. Now, I think, look, if the pass rush was better, it would just help with so many areas of the defense. It would help with the secondary in terms of interceptions, which we're already getting a lot of anyway. To me as well, it puts the quarterback under pressure. It stops him from having so much time to pass, as Jordan Love did in the last game. So it is a major area of concern moving forward, and it is one that the Bears are going to need to massively address going forward. Dennis Allen as well will have to be exceptionally clever in these last 4 games as to how he schemes these packages, what he can bring in terms of that pass rush pressure, in terms of improving that defense, in terms of moving that defense forward. Yes, the Browns' offense is perhaps not the most potent, but we're coming up against the Packers again, the Niners, obviously with Kyle Shanahan, the Lions again, who put 52 on us. So there is going to be a need there to really be clever with those packages, bring that pass rush, and be as clever as possible. Definitely going forward. Ben Johnson as well spoke very clearly as well about the threat that Myles Garrett brings. Now, Myles Garrett, 20 sacks this season. He lines up on the right over the left tackle most of the time, which obviously is a concern for the Bears. Rookie left tackle Ozzie Chapillo is probably the weakest spot on that offensive line at this moment in time. The Bears are going to have to be exceptionally clever on Sunday with how they protect Trapillo and how they try and stop and slow down Myles Garrett. Garrett is a game wrecker. This is a guy, like I said, who's got 20 sacks this season. He's closing in on Strahan's record and TJ Watt's record. So he does need to be slowed down. Now, how that works for me, you've got to start to see a little bit of Joe Tooney sliding over there. You've got to see some of the tight ends moving in there to help. You've got to go with some clever packages there, I think, to lessen his effect. Now, Caleb is good at escaping, but Miles Garrett is a guy who will not let you escape. He will come after you and he will take you down. He could also have an influence, I suppose, on the running game as well, if he can break into the backfield and blow things up in the backfield. So Garrett is a major worry for me in this game. He is a game changer, someone who can make that difference. And saying that Ben says we need that win, and we do need that win this weekend. Miles Garrett needs to be slowed. He needs to be stopped. And like I said, double up, Tooney slide over, do something to help slow him down. I'm not saying you can altogether stop him, because this guy is a generational talent, one of the best in the NFL, if not the best in the NFL. So we do need a package put together, and Ben and the rest of the staff are going to have to work their tails off, along with Dan Rauscher, obviously the offensive line, to come up with ways of stopping and protecting Trapillo this weekend. Guys, let me know your thoughts on the stories we've covered in this video. Thank you for watching the Bears Huddle podcast. If you've enjoyed the content, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bear down.